Welcome to another episode of Conduitao Climate Change Series. And we'll be discussing today about climate change communication for smallholder farmers using the case of Zimbabwe. And we have a guest with us, Gabriel Soropa, who is a lecturer at the Chinhoyi University of Technology in Zimbabwe. So welcome to the show, Gabriel. Welcome.
Greetings. Thanks, Taku, for hosting me. Thank you. How are you?
I'm very fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Gabriel, you are an expert in soil health and you work with the Chinhoyi University of Technology in Zimbabwe. The viewers would like to know more about the nature of your work that you do for the institution and other work related to climate change adaptation that you do.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, let's say thank you so much for inviting me to be one of those to share issues to do with climate change, climate variability, and communication, especially looking at the smallholder farmers here in Zimbabwe. I'm born Gabriel. I'm a holder of a BSc in soil science, an MSc in soil and environmental science, and a PhD in soil fertility management. Currently, I'm employed as a lecturer in the Department of Crop Science and Post-Harvest Technology at Chinhoyi University of Technology in Zimbabwe. My mandate is to teach course or modules related to soil science. Then also, as my major duties, I participate a lot in university committees as part of university management. Then also, I conduct research in various research themes, but specifically looking at issues to do with climate change, food security. Then we are also involved as lecturers in community engagement, where we work with various stakeholders in the society, especially as we are housed under crop science. We work with farmers to discuss various issues to do with farming concepts, issues to do with soil fertility management, you name them. Then of late, Zimbabwean education is moving from higher education, is moving from education 3.0, where we only focused on teaching, research, and community engagement. We are now moving to education 5.0, where we have two new clusters added to, which are innovation and industrialization. In other words, we mean our research should be innovative, resulting in the creation of industries so that we maybe somehow contribute to national strategic development that is being advocated for by our government of Zimbabwe.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
That's quite an impressive CV.
Thank you so much.
You mentioned two words that got my attention. You mentioned that there is climate change and climate variability. Maybe the viewers would like to know the difference. Is there any difference among the two, or it's just too technical?
Yeah, there is a difference. When we refer to climate variability, is when our climate parameters are oscillating around a known average. Then when we say climate is changing, our climatic parameters are changing from a known mean to a new mean. So these two terms are different. Usually climate variability will fit into climate change.
Okay. That still sounds too technical for me. Maybe let me just ask this question as a layman. If I say that maybe there is a change in climate, but it has only been there for the past 3 years, can we call it climate change or climate variability?
Okay. Let me try to simplify things for us. When we refer to climate variability, for example, if your average temperature for, say, an area in Zimbabwe, say Harare, is around 23, then you have your temperature changing maybe yearly from 23 to 21, then it comes back to 23, then goes up maybe to 24 in a period of 3 to 5 years. We cannot term that as climate change. That's climate variability. But if you've got a situation where you've got your temperature, average temperature, you've moved from 23 to 25, then persist to hang at 25 for a prolonged period of time, then we can now define that as climate change.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, next question, Gabriel. Regarding climate smart soils, there is a government-sponsored agricultural scheme for smallholder farmers named Pfumvudza in Zimbabwe. May you please explain what this scheme is all about and why it is vital for rural subsistence farmers to know about it?
Yeah, thank you so much. Remember, the thrust nowadays is to shift from conventional tillage to conservation agriculture. In Zimbabwe, around the 1980s, we've got a guy called Brian Odriff. He suggested the implementation of conservation farming, which he referred to as farming the God's way, where you don't disturb the soil much, you retain the mulch so that you create what he termed God's cover, where you protect your seed in a planting hole, then it germinates using natural conditions. Then the government of Zimbabwe realized that there is climate change, there is climate shifts. We are now experiencing more droughts frequently. Then there is this monster of declining climate change year in, year out. Then they decided to try to impose, sorry to use that word, all smallholder farmers to shift from conventional farming to conservation farming. Then they came up with this package called, as you have correctly said it, it's a Pfumvudza concept, where we are saying we want to utilize small pieces of land whereby farmers are going to dig what we term planting basins. In other fora, they are known as planting pits or planting holes. So in doing so, we know most farmers, they cry that digging pits are so laborious. Then they term it in Shona, timber ufe, meaning you dig to die. So the government said, we are not going to use, to implement this Pfumvudza on a large scale, but we're going to implement this Pfumvudza on a small piece so that a family of 5 can harvest for a year. So it means a family of 5, they require 1 bucket of mealie meal per week to feed themselves. So this new concept is said to be a new season, a new way of doing things. In other words, we are implementing a strategy to proof our agriculture concept. In doing so, ensuring food security and at the same time protecting the environment. The practical aspect of it, it emphasizes on digging pits which are 60 centimeters apart, meaning interrow and interrow. So in each planting basin that has been dug, you put 3 seeds. Then if those 3 seeds germinate, you are later on going to trim them to 2. Then you require from those plants that are going to germinate in those areas, in those dug pits, so that each cob that is going to be harvested from that pit should contribute to the basket that you are going to later on harvest, contributing to the 1 packet per week that is required by the family of what? Of 5. So in short, we are implementing conservation agriculture, which emphasizes on those 3 principles. I think most people know those: minimum tillage, retention of mulch. Those are the 2 principles that are being advocated by the government of Zimbabwe. Of course, the 3rd principle of rotation is there, but not as shouty as the first 2. So from each small plot of 0.06 hectares, you're going to harvest enough for a year for a family of 5 people. Right. So in short, that's the Pfumvudza concept.
Wow. That's so amazing. So in this concept, does it include any synthetic fertilizers or any chemicals to be used in order to maybe maximize the yield, or it's purely organic?
Yeah, currently it's not purely organic. It's a hybrid. When we say it's hybrid, it's a mixture of both the organic and the inorganic. Remember, the program is being sponsored and is being advocated by the government of Zimbabwe. So there is what we term a Pfumvudza package, where each farmer is given a 5 kg packet of seed, a 50 kg of compound D. Our compound D contains the 7, 14, 7 in terms of the NPK nutrient ratios. Then it also a 50 kg of ammonium nitrate, which contains 34.5 nitrogen content as a top dresser. But farmers are encouraged whenever they plant to put a handful of organic material in the planting basins. So it's a hybrid of both the organic and the inorganic.
Okay, thank you so much. Can we safely say that organic farming is a way to fight climate change, greenhouse emissions? And perhaps in layman's terms, how can you explain to an ordinary farmer without a meaningful education that if they go organic, they will be contributing to climate change mitigation or adaptation?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think it's a good question. Organic farming, if purely adopted as organic farming, it contributes significantly to reduction in emission of greenhouse gases. And those greenhouse gases have got potential to contribute to climate variability and climate change. It does so in many ways. But the best way I may try to explain is that when you go organic, you minimize disturbing your piece of land. So it means you disturb aerating your soils. Remember, most microorganisms that are responsible for breakdown of organic materials, they are aerobes, meaning they require oxygen or air in the soil system. So if you disturb your soil through conventional, you open up soil pores, you aerate your soils, then they become energetic, they become havoc in the soil system, breaking the organic materials. In doing so, releasing different gases into the atmosphere, including the carbon-carrying gases, which may result in global warming, moving to climate change and climate variability. So, but if you adopt organic farming, you minimize land disturbance or soil disturbance. You add organic materials to the soil. In doing so, you do what we term carbon sequestration, whereby our carbon is going to be held in the soil system. Then the breakdown is going to be slow to cater maybe for plant needs, to cater for microorganisms. So to me, organic farming is a good way of trying to minimize emission of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. So maybe in layman's terms, through my various experiences, through engagement with farmers, they need to be told what they understand, what they practice. So in layman terms, you sort of maybe you can demonstrate to them the organic farming way, the conventional farming way. Then you teach them from the practical experience they could have generated from those two scenarios. After they have learned through the practical way, then they can understand the science behind implementation and adaptation of organic farming so as to minimize greenhouse gases for climate change accumulation or enhancement or climate variability, as some of those concerns we have globally.
Maybe as a follow-up question for something that you have mentioned before. You mentioned that there is it's a hybrid program that is mixing both organic and inorganic methods in this farming experience. So I wanted you to clarify, maybe for someone in the global north, that what does the organic part constitute of?
Okay, thank you for that question. I think Zimbabwe is known as a cattle country, meaning without problems. At any point, most farmers, they have a head of cattle that is enough to produce enough cattle manure to be used as an organic source. Unfortunately, because of changing climates, because of droughts, because of many other institutional and political issues, our head is declining. But in most cases, farmers are pushed or are required or are motivated or are encouraged to use cattle manure as a source of nutrients. But if you don't have cattle manure, you can use leaf litter, that is at the decomposition stage, which we term locally as murakwani. You can use any organic material that you can find near you as a source of nutrients for your crop in combination with the inorganics. So that we have a hybrid, as I've said before.
Wow, this is so amazing. So this is the basics that has been Gabriel just explained about the Pfumvudza program or zero tillage program. So if the Pfumvudza program is now a popular organic farming technique among Zimbabwean rural farmers, what mediums of communication are being used to ensure that no one is left behind?
Yeah, thanks for that interesting question. As I said before, this program is being pushed since 2020 by the government of Zimbabwe. The permanent secretary, Dr. John Basera, is the one who's on the forefront pushing for this. So most of the media, which are government-controlled, state-owned, they have programs to that effect. So meaning we have our local TV channel. They've got time that is dedicated to talking farming, and in most instances, they zero on the Pfumvudza concept. Then we've got our daily newspapers, the print media. It covers in some sections farming issues and the Pfumvudza concept. The climate-related issues are also talked about in those areas. Then we've got also the private media, both the electronic and print. They push for that. They are having columns. They're having people that are dedicated to write agriculture-related columns, pieces for different audiences. Then of late, in Zimbabwe, there is a surge in use of social media, our WhatsApp, our Facebook, our Twitter. Issues are being discussed on those fora. But unfortunately, most of our smallholder farmers, they live in not so developed areas. So accessibility of the print, the electronic media is limited in those areas. So it turns out to be that those in towns, they've got much knowledge compared to those in the rural areas. Unfortunately, those in the rural areas are the smallholder farmers that should adopt this strategy is being proponented or advocated by the government of Zimbabwe. So my answer, the media is doing its part, but the recipient, maybe that's the part is questionable. The information is not reaching the intended generality of the recipients. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's also interesting because when we talk about the print media and maybe the electronic news, we are mostly talking about the urbanites, because the coverage of the newspaper doesn't extend beyond the urban areas, doesn't extend beyond the tarmac. So what is happening really in the rural areas is difficult to know, given that the newspaper is mostly urban.
True.
So there must be other ways in which the government is communicating, or the policymakers or the key people in this program are communicating to the rural farmers. Maybe we can talk about extension.
Yeah.
And would have to know a little bit about the extension work that is happening in Zimbabwe and how it is complementing the media efforts in trying to get the information to the correct recipient?
Yeah, thanks for that. I concur. I am in agreement with what you've said. The media currently is benefiting the urban folk and not much in the rural setting. But when the government launched the Pfumvudza project in around September, October 2020, it also made sure that the Ministry of Agriculture switched on its extension department, and it recruited some extension officers specifically for the Pfumvudza concept. So in 2020, there were around 5,000 extension officers that were given bikes, the motorbikes and the bicycle, so that they become mobile and try as much as possible to reach all individuals in different villages in the remote areas of Zimbabwe, to try to push the vision of the ministry to implement this new season, which we are terming Pfumvudza. Moreover, government is also pushing different media houses to go and conduct road shows in different villages, trying to preach the gospel of Pfumvudza. In different schools, competitions are being done, dramas are being conducted, then famous people, local drama guys, those that appear on TVs, being engaged also to go different corners of Zimbabwe to preach the Pfumvudza message. I think the effort is there. Of course, unfortunately, it has not covered as much as we want, but I think much effort in the government of the day should be commended for that.
Wow, that's amazing. That's profound. I have this question that emanates from what we have just been discussing, that are the Zimbabwean farmers implementing the Pfumvudza program because they've been effectively taught about climate change, or it is mostly because there are incentives associated with the program?
It's a nice one, Taku. Thanks for that. It's a nice one. I think it's a two-barrel question to me. First of all, obvious, most farmers are implementing the Pfumvudza because of the benefits associated with that. Obviously, every farmer wants to be given some inputs. So if you are given inputs, definitely you go the way the giver wants. So most farmers are implementing into Pfumvudza because of the package that is associated with Pfumvudza. Then also from the government point of view, if you've got a new policy and you want people to implement, definitely should incentivize at first. Incentivize, you draw large masses, you draw large chunk of people to be with you. Then as you move with the people, they start seeing the benefits of the policy, benefits of the program you are trying to push. After they've realized the benefits, you start to withdraw. So it's a win-win. The government is doing their best to push for it. Farmers are also benefiting from the inputs. We'll see maybe later on after the government have withdraw their packages, the uptake, will it remain high or what? But to me, I think it's a win-win situation so far.
That's also amazing, because what I'm trying to find out is that do people know that they are doing this for themselves? If they protect the planet, they are protecting it for themselves and for everybody and for the future generations, or they are only worried about the incentive that is only happening for now, and if there are no benefits associated with the program, they could go back to easily go back to inorganic methods of farming, thereby contributing to planetary pressure that we are trying to run away from.
Yeah, thanks for that. It's fortunate enough that most Zimbabweans now are literate. They read about climate change, they read about climate variability. So those who are educated, those who are in the know-how, they know implementation of the Pfumvudza or the conservation farming, if you want to term it, definitely will benefit us for now, and also benefit generations to come, because we will be doing our cropping for productivity that is enhanced profitability, but at the same time, we'll be pushing for sustainability. But definitely there are others who are only in the program because of the benefits. Our prayer is that when they get the fruits of the program, they will keep on implementing with or without the package. Then definitely there will be a small chunk. That's to me, that will obviously withdraw from the program if the inputs are withdrawn. So I think the government of the day should maybe for 2-3 more years keep on giving the inputs. Then as they do so, push the extension to keep on teaching people the benefits of conservation farming. Then maybe it becomes a gospel that is well received by everyone.
Thank you so much. Though for those who doesn't understand the Zimbabwean agricultural sphere, it is, or maybe the economic sphere. Agriculture is the backbone of the economy. The majority of the population is directly employed or indirectly employed in agriculture, in the agricultural production, in food production, maybe processing and marketing as well. So it is a really huge industry for the country. And most conversations about the economy are based around the topic of agriculture, because agriculture is where the country is getting the money from. So on this conversation, climate change is really a very important issue when it comes to agriculture, because you have to know and study the weather patterns in order to maximize the produce. And which brings us to this conversation about climate change communication. So today we are talking to Gabriel Soropa about what is happening in Zimbabwe in terms of information or dissemination around climate change conversations. So the climate change conversation is broadly academic and scientific, Gabriel. But looking at the Zimbabwean media industry, we can say they are playing a role in breaking down the conversation to include everyone. In what ways are they doing that? Maybe you have attempted to answer that question in some parts of the conversation that we have been having, but I am specifically looking for some of the things that are being done at the present moment to ensure that information reaches everyone.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much. I think the issue of agriculture in Zimbabwe is for all. As you have said, agriculture is the backbone of our economy. Different media houses in Zimbabwe, they take it as honors on themselves to preach issues to do with strategies that will open up maybe increment in productivity, income generation, in sustainability. When we refer to our agricultural systems, we have different sections of different media that have dedicated their time and space to try to preach about issues of climate change, climate variability, and the effect of those on our agricultural system. So to me, there are efforts that are being done. There are efforts that are being put by different media houses. They can be print, they can be electronic, they can be public, they can be private, they can be daily, they can be weekly. I think if you just pick any newspaper in Zimbabwe, you can't read from first page to the last page without coming across any agricultural column. It's not true. Yeah, so I think efforts are being done. I think it's a positive for us who are in the agricultural sector that at least our print is recognizing the need to preach about issues that affects the ordinary person on the ground. Usually, the ordinary person is a smallholder farmer. So I think efforts are being done.
So is there any way that you can advise as an academic to maybe expand the conversation within the media, so that climate change attract more audience and a bigger dialogue, or maybe a polylogue? Because climate change is causing most of the social evils that are happening in our society today. But the media tend to ignore it and focus on politics alone. But yes, we have a danger within our midst, and climate change is the wicked problem that we are talking about.
Yeah, thanks, Takuzwa. I tend to agree that most of the time the media focuses on what makes their output be bought. But unfortunately, there is this monster that is amongst us, which is the climate change, climate variability, global warming. I think I may suggest that the science world, they should turn to journalism. Those guys that are deep rooted in science, those who understand the science related to climate change, I think they can take a course on journalism, then start writing columns in different newspapers. Have a slot on the national TV, have a slot in weekly publications, so that they try to drive the message of climate change. I may also push for journalists to attend maybe short courses on issues to do with climate change, understand the science behind that. Then he can employ also social scientists so that they break that scientific language to the known language by an ordinary person in the street. I have seen other countries employing those guys who are good at linguistics. They change scientific connotations, scientific meanings to simple language that is understood by an ordinary person. I think that is lacking in our media system. They interview the science people, they write the science jargon, but that message is not well understood by an ordinary person on the ground. I think there is a lot that can be done so that we push for this message of climate change to be well understood by an ordinary person with a limited educational background on the ground. If that is done, I'll be the happiest person on earth, because for sure, you can't go and preach issues to do with the carbon sequestration to an ordinary farmer. That's nonsense to him, to her, because they cannot understand that language. But if you can break down that to simple language they understand, if this happens, you're going to reduce your productivity. If this happens, you're going to increase your productivity. The future generation, your kids, kids of your kids who are going to benefit. Maybe in that way they will understand. So I think there is need for an interdisciplinary approach when we are dealing with issues of climate change. Different facets of academia should come together. Then you try to break down this science into the meaningful ways that are understood by an ordinary person on the ground. I think that's my take.
Wow. I think you've just answered my next question, but maybe let me switch to this. When we look at the remote rural of Zimbabwe, we have reached a consensus that the newspaper doesn't reach there, and they doesn't have television set to watch maybe television news, visual news. But are there any other methods that can be used in order to ensure that they get the news in time? Maybe alternative to extension work that is already being done. Does the media still have a role to play in the remote rural villages of Zimbabwe to ensure that climate change communication also reaches them?
Yeah, thank you so much. The media is a world on its own that have got a big influence on any decisions that humankind can make. So we can't take away the role of the media. The media should be there. The media should evolve. The media should be dynamic. The media should have strategies of trying to disseminate information even to the most remote corners of the country. I've seen media houses of late doing what we call outreach programs. They go to different localities, even those remote areas, they conduct road shows. When they're conducting road shows, of course, they're trying to market their radio station, they're trying to market their media house, which is good. But in doing so, they should also discuss issues that are affecting those people in those remote areas. They should talk they should talk and discuss about climate change. They should talk and discuss about climate variability, because these are the issues that are affecting those that are going to attend those road shows. So I think it's possible for the media to play a role. Then I think also the Ministry of Agriculture should merge, should work hand in glove with the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, so that we fuse issues to do with the climate change and variability in the curricula, starting from ECD, starting from our grade ones up to university level, so that at each and every stage people are being taught, we are sharing experiences about climate related issues. In doing so, those kids, those students, they will go and interact with their parents. Then in our days, parents tend to listen to their children. So when the parents listen, they will implement. Then the agritechs will come from a different angle, they push. Then there is a reinforcement of issues to do with climate change from many angles. Then we can also employ our famous guys, those actors, those actresses, those TV personalities. They can go and preach the word of climate change in different areas, and people tend to listen to those who are famous because they want to be associated with those people who are famous. I think there are many ways that can be done. Dramas, short films, you can name them. I think media have got a role to play on climate-related issues, so that it can be disseminated to the peasant farmers who are in those remote areas.
Thank you so much. It makes a lot of sense to me. And what about social media? Are there any platforms that we can resort to?
Yeah. I think. Let it be even bad talk. Let's talk about climate change. When we gather for a weddings, come on, why can't we spend 3, 4, 5 minutes? When we are in church, let the pastors be informed that the issues of climate change, issues of climate variability have got an influence on your congregation. Remember, people need to pay tithes. People need to pay some monies towards support of God's work. So if you talk about climate change, people adopt adaptation strategies, then their yields increases, then work for God also increases. So I think they are in each fora we are in. Let it come from within, so that we discuss these issues. Unfortunately, in Zimbabwe, whenever people hang around, they discuss politics. To me, which is wrong. I think we should discuss issues that have got a bearing on us, issues that we can control, issues that we can manage. I think climate change, if we put all our heads into it, I think we can do wonders to this phenomenon.
Thank you so much, Gabriel, for attending the show and for sharing this cryptic knowledge, which one would have to enroll into a university in order to acquire, but now we are acquiring it for free. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for that.
I guess this brings us to the end of our show today on climate change communication for smallholder farmers, specifically dealing with the case of Zimbabwe's Pfumvudza program, or zero tillage. Thank you so much, everyone, for who has been watching the show wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much. And it's 9:39 a.m. in Toronto today, and yes, it's maybe in 20 minutes to 4 in Zimbabwe. Thank you so much, everyone. See you next time. Thank you, Gabriel.
Thank you so much.